Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise this morning to ask question number 63 of 2015, as it's listed under my name in Schedule 1 to the today's order paper. And my question is directed to the Minister for Infrastructure. Can the Minister inform this August House what capital investments and enforcement strategies is LTA undertaking to reduce the damage on our roads by overloaded commercial and private vehicles? Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Minister for Infrastructure.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his question. Essentially, Madam Speaker, the question relates to possibly the action plan that the LTA is taking to try and curb this overloading that's happening on our roads. Madam Speaker and the members of the House, today for the last 3 years, we invested a lot of money and time on a very critical asset of our nation, critical to our economic and social life, and that is the network of our roads, both in urban, peri-urban, and in the rural areas. And there are many factors that threaten these roads, not including the weather, and so many other factors, but perhaps one of the more critical ones, and that is the matter that is before the House today, is the issue of overloading. Overloading essentially is that when there is an excess amount of weight on the axles of the vehicle, or there is an excess gross weight allowable for that particular vehicle that is allowed onto the road, and then that particular weight, as it is already in excess, is damaging the surface of the road that we are all traveling on. So this is the matter that the LTA has been, under its laws, is the proper authority that enforces this. In addition to LTA, there are other stakeholders that are assisting them to enforce the laws on carrying of excess weight on the road. That is primarily the Fiji Police Force and to a certain extent the Fiji Roads Authority. And there are many stakeholders that the Land Transport Authority and the Fiji Roads Authority and also the police speak to and dialogue with regards to this matter. And they include the Fiji Sugar Corporation with regards to cane trucks and cane lorries, the Fiji Pine Limited, Fiji Hardwood Limited, Tropic Woods, and also shipping agents, Truck Haulers Association. These are some of the people that we speak to, and on occasionally other people who tend to carry heavy loads on the back of trucks using the roading networks. So we have the authorities and we also have our stakeholders that we confront and dialogue to every once in a while because of this problem. Now, we have put in certain measures to be able to ensure that we keep our trucks as compliant as possible to the weight limitations that they should be carrying on our roads. And some of these measures include, and this is by LTA, the establishment of permanent weight bridges at certain strategic locations, such as port of entries and in industrial areas. And in terms of manning, LTA has scheduled weekly operations at the Lautoka and Walilevu weight bridges. There are 4 permanent weight bridges around the country which are located in Sabsabu, Lautoka, Lami, and in Walilevu. There are 3 portable sets of wheelways around the country, 1 in each of the regions. Central Eastern is 1, North, and also in the West. Now, going forward, Madam Speaker, LTA is embarking on increasing its portable wheelways by investing in another 3. And this is the total cost of procurement is $864 to date, and cost us about $70,000 a year to maintain these particular weight bridges. For the permanent weight bridges, LTA is in collaboration with Fiji Roads Authority pulling in resources to increase the number of permanent weight bridges around the country. And The focus of this, Madam Speaker, is on loading sites in whole areas of Vitilevu, in particular in the areas of Nandi and Singotoka Corridor, Bua to Sianganga, Nosori to Nayavu, and also Nosori to Nabua. Also, the mandatory weighing is conducted at our port of entries, as I alluded to earlier, so this is in the King's Wharf in Suva and the King's Wharf in Lautoka, under permanent arrangement with the Fiji Ports Authority. We also, LTA has also implemented a 24/7 overloading operation on permanent weight bridges, which is actually being earmarked to commence here in 2015. The intention here is for these sites to become mandatory inspection areas for heavy goods vehicles that transit the weight bridge site. The intent is to place surveillance cameras in these locations too. LTA is also into the empowerment and training of road marshals, and you see them on the road with these reflective jackets in the concept to be able to deter people from trying to take overloads on the road. So with regards to overloading, if these road marshals sight a vehicle and then they believe that these vehicles are carrying overload, are being overladen, then they will call up the proper authority to go and inspect them, the enforcements. I've alluded to earlier in terms of talking with Truck Haulers Association and trying to get them within the normal weights. Also, we've asked them to carry on board their own vehicles weighing scales to make sure that they are compliant, particularly when they get into their loading areas. LTA is embarking also on an awareness program with the Haulers Association for companies to invest in such an equipment. And hopefully we can include this also within the LTA legislation. At the moment, we have an MOU with Fiji Sugar Corporation with regards to long-term intention for cane trucks to comply on the legal loads on the road so that they can stay within the limits. We have certain land transport has a certain level of difficulties particularly in dealing with these cane trucks, and you see tractors on the road that take up over 3/4 of the road as they take their cane to the mill. But this is something that obviously I think over the years people have gotten used to it, but we hope to try and make some determination in terms on how to make these size of trucks and the loads that they carry a bit safer, given the width of our road and every other user. Also, we're talking to Fiji Pine and Fiji Hardwood on trying to negotiate, the loads that they need to carry, given we understand that there are economical weights that these trucks, can carry, given the purchases that they have already made. But this is a process that we are continuing to dialogue with them. But we realize that any attempt to increase the weights on this truck will have serious impact on the roads that we've just constructed. You'll also note that LTA with the police are conducting SNAP operations in the areas along our roads to try and prevent people from taking advantage of the absence of compliance on the road. You drive, every once in a while you'll see them stopping these heavy trucks and causing them to have their weights taken. And we have very, very heavy fines for trucks that are non-compliant. Actually, it's $1,000 per vehicle. It's a fine on the spot. So it's not a light fine. So, and this essentially is done to at least force the people to be compliant. And we also ask on the general public that if they see overladen vehicles on the road, if they believe that the vehicles are overloaded and are having a significant effect on the road, is please to call up Land Transport Authority. And there's a short code line of 5298 and 5299 reporting these vehicles that are overladen. These are some of the measures, Madam Speaker, that we have taken, particularly at the Land Transport Authority, to try and keep our roads safe and also keep the weights on the back of the trucks legal on the road so that we can have the best benefits from the roads and the investment that we've made on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honorable Wande.
The last 30 years, the growing demand in trade have increased the sizes of containers, also the weighing capacities on our road. The question is, do they plan for these changes over the next 10 years? And what specification, road specification they are using from the last 30 years till to date? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Speaker, can I ask the honourable member to repeat his question? I didn't quite get the first part of it. Thanks.
Please repeat the question.
In the last 30 years, there is a growing increase in trade. The demand for the use of vehicles and the containers unloading in our shores. So, what was the plan in the last 10 years, in the last 30 years to the next 10 years? And the road specification that they are using from the last 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had to ask that clarification because I thought when the honourable member mentioned trade, he actually said trade, so I thought it was a transition on the area of transportation. Madam Speaker, one of these, one of the beauty perhaps of the reform that we did with the Fiji Roads Authority is to bring in some perspective in terms of the maintenance of this big asset that we have. An asset that is worth close to $10 billion. And the reference, the honourable member made reference to a period of 10 years ago and 10 years going forward. We're definitely planning going forward. What we inherit today has been the outcome of road construction in the last, not only in the last decade, but also in the years previous to that. Our roads, when they are constructed, primarily like our major highways, to allow for these expansions, you will notice that we construct roads to international standards in terms of the standard width for one particular lane, and then you'll also see that we are attempting the best we can to try and build all these 4-lane carriages between our main centers. We're starting with Suvarnasori, and then in due course we are going to go to a certain degree. We are doing now Nandi Airport all the way to Nandi Town and also Denarau, and we are moving also in the direction to continue the 4-lane between Nandi and Lautoka. Now these are the main centers where much of the business is done. So in widening the road and in keeping to international specs, we can't do much about the roads that have already been built. We naturally have to ask people to, to give up the lands when their houses are in certain places, to allow us to widen this road, to allow for expansion on trade. And we definitely have a plan. These last few weeks I've been saying we have a 10-year plan, we have a 20-year plan on certain things. But in places where there's virtually no hindrance in terms of the width of the road, we build it to the, to the width that is required under the law and also best spec for international practice. But in places where it's too restricted, we can only do so much. And we try and make the best of what there is already within the space that is allowable.
Thank you. The Honourable Asir Ranrondo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Minister for the comprehensive explanation. And also that the strategy is in place in terms of existing weight bridges that have been implemented or installed to address the road damages. Now the question is, Madam Speaker, how do you address the heavy trucks that continue to use our roads outside the manning hours of the weight bridges?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I said I noted that we have SNAP operations. Most of these overladen trucks, as they come out of the port areas, are manned. We have presence on the road also, SNAP, that are working late into the night, LTA in particular and the police. We have, if you're driving along the King's Road, sometimes you see 3-4 trucks in a row, heavy laden going up the hill. And then we have our vehicles running after them, and of course then people find out that they're using the cover of dark to go. So we do have a presence at night in certain places, but I've already said in part of the initiative is asking the public to take part in keeping our roads, looking after our roads. If they see these vehicles wandering around, without being detected, please call the numbers that I have already given the House. Thank you.
Thank you. And the number is 5298. And the last supplementary question from Mr. Nomaikula.
Madam Speaker, in the rural areas, the time that they dread the most is the time of logging activities. When they finish, they also finish the bridges and the culverts and everything. During the operation, you need caterpillars on the other side. So could the Honourable Minister at least undertake to put up signs on the bridges, to put maximum weights, to assist the enforcers, the public, and the travelling public, as well as could he direct his enforcers to take note of areas where logging operations are taking place.
Thank you for that third and last supplementary question. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Madam Speaker. As I alluded to earlier, in the logging areas there is a number of initiatives where we put these temporary bridges to cause the vehicles to be compliant in weight. I recognize the issue that's being raised by the Honourable Member, and we are very concerned, particularly in the rural areas where over time the state of these bridges that we have are in no state to carry these additional overloads. Where we have determined that these loads, where these bridges can only take certain loads, we have made certain attempts to note that so that overladen vehicles do not travel on it. But I am asking the public in general and also logging companies to keep the weights on their trucks, limited, particularly in the rural areas where these vehicles are being loaded up, where trees are being cut and logged to the mills. To exercise caution in places that they do not damage the bridges more than they already are, because there's a very significant number of our bridges in the rural that we are looking into in terms of this 10-year, 20-year plan for FRA and bridge reconstructions are already in a very, very grey area in terms of safety. And we do not want them to actually cause these bridges to collapse. But when we know certain bridges that do actually need a certain signage for weight limitation, we will do that. And we thank the Honourable Member for the suggestion that's been made to the House today. Thank you.